So we only have a short period of time today. So what I want to do is concentrate from all those different data points that we were talking about beforehand. What I want to do is concentrate on the data that comes from sales. So basically your POS data, even though POS data comes from so many different sources right now. Secure is as I said, the industry leading EBR tool. And when I think back to when I started in my career, EBR was just, was a really new, innovative thing where we could just really get to the data much faster and start to group things together. This has really evolved over the years into something so much more. And this tool is so robust and allows you to do the things that we need for the basic needs of loss prevention. Let's face it, when you put an EBR tool in, one of the first things you want to do is be able to find your cashiers that might be stealing or might be causing shortage to your company in another way. One of the things I did when I was using EBR as a practitioner is as we put in new programs or new practices for the company, we would use our EBR tool to do quick analysis of it to find out if there were any flaws in the system, if there were any loopholes that the customers or the employees were trying to take advantage of. And the other thing is that the EBR tools are so easy to use. When you get into a BI tool, sometimes they can be a little more complex, but with EBR, it's usually very quick. And we were able to always provide data to other departments in a fast way. And LP departments typically really like to make sure that they are really helping to contribute to the rest of the department. But what I really love most about Secure is how it's evolved and how it's evolved to meet the changing needs of the loss prevention and the AP departments. So with Secure, we have work items. These are interactive alerts that come to your people in the field. So instead of them having to data mine and look for information, they're getting the notification here. This has met the thresholds that we've identified as a potential high risk. And it's immediately they can go in and they can dig into everything. The real advantage that we have right now is that we're now pulling in AI scoring that goes on top of it. So as you all know, you can run a certain type of a search and say, look, I want to see all refunds that are over a certain dollar amount that their receipt was hand keyed into the register and it happened in the same day. But some of them might be legitimate. There's other things that the investigator would normally check into. And now we're utilizing the AI system to evaluate that and then turn around and come up with scoring, which allows your field people, again, to concentrate on the things that are the highest risk. We've greatly expanded the search capabilities in the system. And when I say search, these are the different types of queries that are being done. We support inner and outer joins for the people that are very technical in that. We're able to use reference tables, not just from the POS data and the store and associate data you have in the system, but you can actually upload any type of data you want into the system. And we've integrated our incident management system into the application as well. So now your users, as they're working on something, they find a potential case, they can immediately put it into the case system and be able to upload any evidence that they need at that point. But when we're doing EBR and we're looking at all these searches, so many of the times we'll look and we'll find, oh, this is a potential fraud situation, but it turns out not to be fraud. It turns out to be a situation that it's more the employee is poorly trained, doing something wrong. A lot of us, when we see these, we classify those as training issues. And we'll send those out to the stores and hope that they retrain the employees. What we've done is we've expanded on our Secure platform to Secure Coach. And what Secure Coach does is it automates these things that we were looking at beforehand. They're finding the training information and they're sending it to the store personnel so that they can respond to it. It puts the real power of the whole Secure platform into the hands of the store so that they can really surgically address what's wrong with a potential situation. The system is set up to limit the number of interactions that are done by a store to a reasonable number so that the stores don't feel overwhelmed. It can integrate into your store training program. It's very easy for the store people to utilize this. It's very clear to the associates as they're doing it. And it allows the companies to evaluate the effectiveness of what they've done on this, because you can now look and see where the KPI that you're looking at has gone over. One of our first customers that rolled Secure Coach out has told us that they have found they found millions of dollars in savings by looking at the operational KPI reductions. And I've got a few of those listed down here. And in the organizational results, they've seen incredible movement in basket size, employee turnover, checkout, increasing the checkout speed, all from the stores that are utilizing the Cashier Coach program the most effectively. This was one of the things in this company. They did a test run of stores, and they only went half the time during the test program, and they rolled it out everywhere because they showed such great advantages. So I really do like the Secure Coach program, because it does allow us to take this really powerful secure tool and expand it throughout the rest of the organization. I'd like now to move a little onto our return authorization program. It's ever since I've been in the industry, refund fraud's been one of the biggest contributors to shrink that we see. And quite frankly, with ORC going up and up all the time, we're seeing this even more pronounced right now. But refunds are an important part to running a retail organization. Over half of the customers say that the refund policy for a store will influence whether or not they're going to shop at that store in any of their channels. So the retailer's in a situation where they have to really balance between, how do I keep my customers happy, and how do I keep, all of my profits from running out the door on this? It's important to really look at the customers on this. And this is what we do with our Verify program, is that we're looking at the customer itself. When you think about your best customer may buy 10 times more than anyone else, and yet they might have 10 times more returns, but they're still very, very profitable. If you put in a policy that's strictly based on something like velocity, you might be turning away those customers. So let me just share this little graph for a second. What our studies have shown, and we've been working for more than 15 years in the area of return authorization. We have found that 80% of the customers typically buy and they never return. They're just buying their stuff and they keep it. So about 20% of customers regularly make returns. But when we take that 20% of the pie and look at it, 99% of those returners really demonstrate what we would call typical return behavior. What we're looking for are the suspicious fraud patterns, and looking at where the extreme outliers are. This is who you want to target. So if I looked at the number of returns that were happening, I might see someone with a lot of returns here, but their sales are really large too. They're not your big issue. You want to look for the people that have the negative return numbers, or they're tied in different ways. And we look at that with Verify in a couple of different ways. We have patented receipt triangulation and consumer linking. That's really a lot more powerful than you see with a simple velocity-based program. Our customers that have moved into utilizing Verify reduce their refund percentage by an average of 8%, and they see a shrink reduction of up to 13% at this time. And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, your best customers are treated as the best customers. They're being taken care of. We've got a great consumer profile for them, but we can deter the bad folks. And I want to share this slide because when I first came to the company, I will admit, I was always a little bit skeptical about Verify. Like, how could they really return this type of results? But this is what made the believer out of me. We do this for all of our customers. And so here's an example for one of our customers. We looked at all consumers. So we're looking at the people that are coming into the store that had a warning. With Verify, you're either approved, you get a warning, or you get a denial. So we took a 6-month period of time, and we looked at what the activity was for all those people that we issued a warning to 6 months before the warning and 6 months after the warning. And if you look down below, and you can see that before the warning, these people had a total of 32,000 returns for over $2 million. After the warning, it went down, the same group of people, 2,000 returns and 164,000. So a basic deterrence of over 93% of the dollars were deterred. And let's face it, these are the customers that the profiles have shown are not your good customers. These are not the people that you're sorry about having to go. But this return, getting rid of the bad returners is great. But one of the things we looked at a while ago was, let's look at how we can maximize, instead of just minimizing the risk, how can we maximize the opportunity that comes from returns? The majority of our customers find that there's a certain amount of customers that will buy something after they do a return, but the great majority of them just walk away with those dollars in hand. So the Incent program that we utilize lets customers come in, and when they return a product, either from the store, if it's a BORA situation where they're returning it in store, they can process the return. Our AI engine inside of Incent will determine, should this customer be given some type of an incentive, and it's going to be very personalized. It's going to be driven by what the customers want. So in this case, I make a return. And I get a coupon that says, you know what, you have $5 off on if you spend $50 in the next 5 hours. This has been very, very impactful. And in fact, when you look at this, the short-term incremental impact, 39% of the customers made a purchase after a return, right after the return, and 34% additional dollars that came in. So the store got 25% profit. So these customers were people that would ordinarily be leaving and not spending anything, and yet now they've been incented to come in and spend some time in the store and buy something, and they're typically buying far more than what that incentive is. And they've some really nice post-return activity too, because now this customer is really excited. I really like how I'm being treated by this company, and it really puts a much more of a benefit to them at that time. So when we get now into the e-commerce, and let's face it, things have changed so much. With the pandemic, we saw, I thought this was a really interesting slide. That's why I added it in. This is the growth of e-commerce since 2009. You can see there was a steady growth that came in here. But once we hit the things with the pandemic, we looked and we saw this huge growth. In reality, there was about 10 years of growth in e-commerce volume in a 3-month period of time. And this is what retailers were experiencing. And now as things are opening up and people are around, you would think that maybe we're going to go back down to these levels, but the early numbers are saying, no, they're not going back to that level. People are still going through and saying, hey, this is pretty nice. I'm going to continue to shop online here. So with e-commerce is not going away. Our omni-channel, our multi-channel process is something that's going to continue to go. And we have to start thinking we have to think differently to maximize profit. Because when you think about the e-commerce experience, yes, it might be nice and easy for that customer, but there are different types of costs for the retailer. Number one, the return rate for online purchases is more than 50% of that of brick and mortar. Customers not touching it, they're not feeling it, they might be getting multiple sizes of something to be able to get it. And so there's a lot more returning that happens there. And quite frankly, retailers are making it easier for customers to return, which makes the customer happy, but it also makes them much more likely to return. For example, if I bought something at Amazon, I never returned it until they started making it easy for me to walk into Kohl's and just drop it there. And so I ended up buying more from Amazon, but I also ended up returning more as well. Selling an item can be 3 times higher or more if you're selling a single item online to a consumer, and then if you're in a brick and mortar store, because there's a lot of other costs that go into that. Now, we also want to look at sales, because a sale can look really differently. A good sale can look really differently. Someone walks into your store and buys 3 pairs of shoes. Hey, that's a great thing. But if you get a sale online, which is for 3 pairs of the exact same shoe in 3 sizes, your first thought is, you know what, they're going to be returning 2 of them. They just don't know what size it is. And this is where our Engage offering comes into place. Engage allows us to look at the customers as their personas in different ways. So your best consumer, doesn't matter where they're shopping, but they've got a high number of sales. They shop a lot. They do a lot of pickup in store, and they do a lot of return in store. There's no shipping costs that are involved when they're doing that type of stuff. And they're never complaining about, their stuff not being there. And this progresses all the way through to our worst customer. They've got low or negative sales. They don't ever return in store. They don't ever pick up in store. Everything has to come in, and they're constantly complaining about porch pirates or their damaged merchandise. So when we look at these people and say, how do we respond to this? One of the things that's really interesting when you think about e-com, one of the advantages we have is that we know a lot more about that shopper before we let them make the sale. And so we can do a lot of different things. Whereas when they just come into the store, we don't know that much about that customer. So let me give you an example. I talked about, a customer that orders 3 pair of the same shoe online. So let's say that we get in here and we see that situation that comes in. Now, when you think about the shipping, to ship a pair of shoes might be $10. And so 3 pairs of shoes are going to go out. You've got a cost of $30 on that transaction already. And 2 of them are coming back. And so now we're going to add another $10 or $20 onto that. So we're now into a $50 cost on that 1 pair of shoes that they're ultimately going to take. So what Engage allows the retailer to do is at the checkout, it can do some quick evaluation. Are those sizes available in a store that's close to that customer? And so we can look and we can also look at that consumer's history. What have they done before? What are they looking at? What is their pattern of returning? And if they are a serial returner, someone that's doing a lot of things like that, maybe we incentivize them to do something different. So maybe we say, if you go to the store, these shoes are available at this store that's near you. And if you go there, we're going to give you a coupon for 10% off of your purchase. Okay, that's something that could be very enticing to the customer. Or the incentive could be, if you buy this in the store, as opposed to us shipping it to you, you'll get another coupon for 20% off an item that you're also buying at that time, or for a subsequent item. You already know as you're walking in that in this case, you're going to be out $50. You've got a $50 sunken cost at this situation. So you can afford to do the incentives. And that's really where we look at how Engage can really assist our retailers in addressing the consumers in the right way. And again, if you think about what I showed you with Incent and how we were able to get customers to continue to buy up even more 30 days in the future, their overall sales increased. We see the same type of situation happening with the Engage program. And also, the other thing that's also really key here is that every retailer right now has something at the board level on sustainability. And when you're shipping, when you're doing all of this shipping, and you've got 3 things going on, 2 things coming back, you've got a lot of environmental impact in there. The boxes, the gas to send the things, there's just so many environmental issues too that we can come up with a more sustainable way of handling it. So to just do an overview, Engage is really a collection of the capabilities that come from our vast experience with retail, our vast experience with building out consumer profiles. It allows us to combine the things that we've done with Verify, along with the things that we've done with Incent. We've got extensive data analytics that can pull this in and help tailor it to exactly the type of treatment that you want your customers to have. So it can reduce your fraud and abuse protection. The customer that's always saying that they always have porch pirates, and they want to return things. So you know what, you can't return it. You have to take it to the store and get an exchange. You've got the ability to do that because we have their history. It's using the ability to let you recoup the revenue because you have incentives that can go out to the customer that if it's going to be a return, let's see if we can turn around and make it so that we've got sales that are coming back and being top line sales. We talked about the reducing the cost. It doesn't cost as much. You don't have to do the cost to ship and then to return if we can just send them to the store. And then obviously the impact on the environment by reducing costs of something that's going to ultimately be returned. So I really like that whole idea of engaging our customers in a different way. So just in closing, I just want to again talk about there's a comprehensive suite of retail solutions with Appriss Retail. We've got such a huge amount of experience in the retail industry, and being able to take this data use it for good and help us to bring things to more top line information.